All right, man, peace. So, brother, this is going to be volume 2 in a series that I started a while ago called Frenemies. The first edition featured Mr. Draymond Green and Mr. LeBron James. And this latest entry is going to feature Mr. Tom Brady, the superstar quarterback formerly of the New England Patriots, currently of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Mr. Randy Moss, the former superstar wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings, the Oakland Raiders, the New England Patriots, so on and so forth. And the reason why I wanted to include those two superstar players, or former superstar player in the case of Randy Moss, in this series is because it seems as though Randy Moss has decided that he's going to declare war on Tom Brady. And I'm not quite sure why that is. Could it be because he's always believed that Tom Brady was a product of Bill Belichick and that system? Or could it be that Randy Moss is caught down that woke rabbit hole and he's trying to advocate for black quarterbacks like Cam Newton and Patrick Mahomes over Tom because he knows that Tom is an all-time great and he could take that little butt kicking from the media? Who knows what it is? Either way, Tom Brady has decided that he's going to take the quote-unquote high road and play a little bit of chess with Mr. Randy Moss. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Tom Brady tweeted that one of his greatest games he ever played was in 2007 when he threw 4 touchdown passes to Randy Moss. Brady capped the tweet off by suggesting that Moss join him in Tampa, saying Bucks red would look good on Moss.
In other words, Tom Brady's letting Randy Moss know, bro, I'm 43 years old. I'm still in the NFL. You're 43 years old and you've been retired for 8 years. And it's basically because you never became the best version of yourself while in the NFL. Tom Brady looks at Randy Moss and sees someone who should have surpassed all of Jerry Rice's records. And he's been out of the league for 8 years because he just could not control himself and his own ego.
Andy replied saying that he wouldn't make the team with the guys Brady already has. So Shannon, was Brady being genuine or sarcastic with this invitation?
Hell no, Jenny Tappan. You know that shit already. That's why you smiling like that. Tom Brady's letting Randy Moss know, bro, I have 1/100th of the talent at quarterback that you were blessed with God from to have at wide receiver. And I've maximized my potential as an NFL player, something that you have not done and can never do because you're gone. I'm still here. So watch your mouth.
Sarcastic. First of all, Skip, Brady knew there was a chance Randy was coming out of retirement after 8 years. Randy last played in 2012.
Of course, Tom Brady's playing chess with him.
The Super Bowl, Skip, against the Baltimore Ravens. And
Did
Randy
he play that?
Yeah, I think he called it. I think he about to call the pass.
Shots fired from Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is letting the people know Randy Moss barely played in that last Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens when he was with the San Francisco 49ers. And Randy Moss, with all of his vaunted talent, normally disappeared in big games.
43.
Yeah.
But he's been retired for 8 years.
Yeah.
Randy's not coming out of retirement. What this is, old Tom upset. Randy, let me show you what I can do, because he's been very complimentary of the best quarterback in football, the best player in football, my homeboy.
Yes, that's why I state that it could be that Mr. Randy Moss is just trying to talk up the black quarterbacks, because we know that Randy does have a very noted history involving race, particularly coming out of West Virginia. And he might see this time period as the moment to exalt the quote-unquote black quarterback. And if he has to take or appear to be taking shots at his former greatest quarterback that he's ever played with, Tom Brady, then that's what he's going to do. Even though Randy Moss has said certain things about Tom in the past. Like when he first got to New England, Tom Brady was not known as a quarterback who would take the top off of the passing game. He tried to take credit for the fact that he made Tom Brady someone who would look down the football field and throw deep passes, stretch the defense out.
I kind of rubbed Tom the wrong way, because Tom's like, Randy, you must have forgot the record. We got the record, you and me and you, 23 touchdowns in a single season, and you up there heaping praise on my...
Right, but let's be for real. The real record is Joe Montana, 22 touchdowns to Jerry Rice in 12 games.
Boy, how you do me like that? Let me come on back down here. Let me show you what you must have forgot. Randy said, nah, I'm good, cuz. I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to talk about how great my homeboy is. I mean, you used to be great, but my homeboy time now, Skip. That's the revolution. You know how this works. All the great actors, Bogart and Brando.
Yeah.
And, all the...
Humphrey Bogart was a great actor back in the 1940s.
Brenner, all those guys.
Humphrey Bogart would smack the shit out of people in his movies all the time. He'd be knocking everybody out, grabbing up chicks and shit.
put Yule up there.
No, I'm just saying.
But whatever.
You like Brando?
Yeah,
you like Bogart?
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah. So you like...
Marlon Brando was one of those actors who he had to express himself via the theater or via cinema because he was plagued by demons.
But it's a new time now. Mm-hmm. Now it's Hank's time. It's Denzel and Daniel Day-Lewis. Okay. Yeah. So there's my homeboy. It's his time.
Daniel Day-Lewis, another quote-unquote method actor, basically an enchanter who allows various spirits to enter into his body in order to participate in his performances.
You used to be what's that? It used to be you told me in the movie about how you go the actress, she come downstairs and
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah. It's over. You used to be.
I'm ready for my close-up. Mr. DeMille. It's Gloria Swanson. Yes. Walking down. She's in her Beverly Hills mansion. She thinks she's still in a movie.
Yeah.
Sounds like the average liberal woman today, just walking out of her house thinking that she's in a movie and that she's the star. How delusional.
Done. It's over. Nobody's there. I'm ready for my close-up.
Absolutely, the average liberal woman. There's nobody there, but she's ready for her damn close-up.
Close-up. So you're saying Tom Brady is done?
Tom went down there for
the spiral staircase in Tampa, and he said, I'm ready for my close-up, and everybody said, you're too old? I think they just gave him $50 million.
Maul said, no. The new close-up.
Yeah.
Is for that guy in Kansas City. Action.
This is going to be a great test for Mr. Tom Brady because a lot of people made a lot of excuses for him last year, including myself, saying that we don't quite know exactly where Tom is as a quarterback right now because the level of wide receivers that he played with was so deplorable that it's difficult to analyze exactly how great a quarterback he still is or assess it. We're going to get a great standard for his performances this year, should they play the season, with the level of wide receiver that he has down in Tampa Bay.
By the way, there's nobody today who could carry Brando's coffee cup. When he was right, he was really right.
Yes.
Okay.
I will agree with that, at least when it comes to most of these actors. I'll say this. Marlon Brando was someone that when he was on screen, he took over. He pretty much back in the 1970s was how Robert De Niro is perceived today. That's how Brando was perceived back then. So for many of the young up-and-coming actors during that time period, like Al Pacino and James Caan and Robert Duvall, who become legendary in the aftermath of that time period, the 1970s, when they were on set with Brando, they viewed him as a quote-unquote acting god.
Just for the record. Although
it's unfortunate that they were unable to retain Brando's services for Godfather Part 2, because if he would have been in that film with Robert De Niro as well as Al Pacino, one could make the case that that film would have had probably the greatest cast of actors in the history of American cinema.
Oh, I gotta say, when Denzel is right, Training Day right.
Yeah.
Training Day was the first film that I ever saw multiple times in the theater. That's how blown away I was by Denzel's performance in that movie.
Unbelievable.
Ooh. Hey, the Equalizers? I don't know.
I loved him in Malcolm X.
Okay.
Yeah, he was tremendous in that film. Denzel is also a method actor, and he's on record as stating that he allowed certain spirits into his body, or there were entities that he said were speaking for him when he was reading off certain Malcolm X speeches. But that's a whole other video for another day.
On and on. Okay. What happened last week on this show? For 3 straight days, I had to sit in this seat and express my shock, my disappointment, and my hurt over what is Randy Moss doing to Tom Brady.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that myself, and I have to think that's why I've come to the conclusion that it must have something to do with some of the things that are occurring societally, and it also could be that Randy Moss was always closer to Belichick than he was to Tom Brady, and has always had more respect for Belichick than he's had for Tom Brady.
With whom he set very special records in 2007. He's betraying him. He's disrespecting him. He's disowning him. after all they did together, what are you doing? And he did it one day, and I said, Randy, what are you doing? And then he did it the next day, and I said, Randy, what are you doing? And he did it again.
And another.
Boom. He went, oh, Cam in New England, they're going to have so much more fun. The offense is going to be so much more fun to watch.
They'll be lucky if Cam Newton completes 10 passes to the wide receivers on the New England Patriots for the entire season.
Randy, you were the most electric deep threat in the history of this league. You don't think that was fun to watch in 07? You set every offensive record
But Tom, man,
known to man.
Whoa. Yeah. He said, yeah, that was fun in 2007, but when was the last time we saw that kind of fun offense in New England? Huh? When we ever seen it?
Let's please keep in mind that Tom Brady has won multiple MVPs, not only in 2007. Tom Brady has won multiple Super Bowls. None of them were with Randy Moss. So let's put a little bit more respect on Tom Brady's name.
He's won some MVPs.
Yeah. But it wasn't fun like in 2007. He said Cam going to bring that flag
well,
back.
to your point, when do we...
Good luck with that. I want to see Cam Newton throw for 48 touchdowns and for 5,000 yards, or however many yards Brady threw for that season. It was somewhere around there. I promise you, I'm not even quite sure that Cam is going to start or take the majority of snaps this upcoming NFL season, should the NFL have a season.
Kind of fun? Oh, I don't know, the 2014 Super Bowl when they came back from 24-14 down in the fourth quarter against the Legion of Boom? Or how about 28-3 down against Atlanta in that Super Bowl? That wasn't fun?
No. And what he said is my homeboy with the no look, the behind the back, running 40 yards for touchdown. That's fun.
What was fun to me was Tom Brady converting 3 straight 3rd and 10s in the cold in overtime in my homeboy's home to win the AFC Championship and go to another Super Bowl with you, which you won with another fourth quarter game-winning drive. That's fun.
No, Skip. There's a difference between, look, John Stockton have more sense than Magic Johnson, but he ain't have the razzmatazz.
I'll give you that.
So that's what I'm saying. But yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt. Mr. Pat Mahomes, he has he has the whole bag, and the bag is packed to the brim.
6 Super Bowls, and he got 3 straight completions on 3rd and 10. But that razzmatazz, that Mahomes brain, there you go, take that.
Hey, but Brady can take over games. John Stockton could not take over games. He just could.
Mahomes.
Well, I'll say this. John Stockton was dominant in his own way. And he did take over games down the stretch, especially in that initial season where they made the finals in 1997 when they played the Rockets. He did take over the game down the stretch in Game 6, finally hitting that 3-point shot that sent them to the finals. John Stockton was dominant in his own way. He wasn't dominant in a domineering way, but all the guys who played against him would tell you how great a player he was.
He was an accessory to Karl Malone.
When we see Brady take over a game.
Okay, then the next thing I hear is that he says, yeah, Mahomes has a great chance to be the greatest ever.
Yeah.
He was lucky to win his first Super Bowl.
No, he wasn't. He just operated under pressure and was able to be successful. As a matter of fact, Patrick Mahomes was closer to having 2 championships than he was to having none. The better team won last year's Super Bowl, and I'm sure that many people will say it was scripted. It is what it is at the end of the day. The better scripted team won the Super Bowl. Kansas City had the better quarterback. The difference was closer in defense than it was in offense. Jimmy G did not have what it took to orchestrate the offense down the pivotal stretches of the game. It is what it is. But once again, 2 years ago, when Patrick Mahomes pretty much had the New England Patriots beat, there was that defensive player, I believe D. Ford, who decided that he was going to line up offsides.
An interception late in the third quarter, an interception early fourth, and he threw a 3rd and 15 punt pass that he just threw up to nobody, and Tyreek had to come back and wait for a fair catch and catch it.
He should have.
Whenever Skip Bayless is trying to diminish a player, he'll always claim that everything good that occurred for that player down the stretch of the game happened by mistake.
2?
He should have 2 Super Bowls. You know it.
Well, Brady made that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, anyway, the point is, greatest ever. So, Brady goes to 9 Super Bowls in 20 years. This kid is lucky to win 1, and you're saying he could be the greatest ever? It's just so disrespectful. It's shamefully disrespectful.
Well, people are making that analysis as those who are viewing it ahead of the curve. They're looking at what the career arc for Mr. Patrick Mahomes appears to be. And it would appear that he's on his way to having a career that would be considered the greatest of all time. Now, of course, he has to do it. But that's why they call people on television prognosticators. That's why they're called pundits, because they're paid to say things before they occur, not in the aftermath. So just looking at Patrick Mahomes, he's probably had the greatest first 2-year start in the history of the NFL. Prior to him, who was it? Maybe Dan Marino, who had a great rookie campaign and then the next year broke all the passing records, but he didn't win a championship. Patrick Mahomes in one season broke a lot of records, got to the AFC Championship game, should have won, and then the next year wins the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I don't really see what the debate is here.
Oh, wait a minute. The man is only going into his 4th year. So you telling me this man wins another Super Bowl MVP.
And only his 3rd year starting.
MVP. He's well on his way.
The 3rd day, he arose from the dead. No, the 3rd day.
Are you trying to say that people are worshiping Patrick Mahomes like he's Christ, Skip Bayless? Come on now.
Well, what happened?
Why did he do that?
Randy Moss comes back again, and he triples down, and he says, oh, if I played my prime with Mahomes, I'd catch 30 touchdowns.
He won.
He still has the record 23 from Tom Brady. Don't go there. Don't do that. You're too good. And again.
Yeah, that was very disrespectful. That's why I said that they may be frenemies. Who knows?
Not taking a shot at Randy Moss because he's not good.
Maybe Randy Moss is jealous of a lot of the credit that Tom Brady gets. Maybe he views Tom Brady as someone who's fair to Midland and was just a system quarterback. I don't view him as that. I think that Tom Brady has done the most with what any quarterback would do within that system. But different people look at certain players differently.
He's great, and he's a lightning rod, and he has big opinions. I just didn't like this one because it hurt me. Okay, so how did Tom Brady finally respond? He got him good. He basically, he took the high road. He sort of killed him with kindness, if you will, but it's sarcastic kindness because he talked about that greatest game they played together. It's his signature turning point. You know, what did he call it? His greatest moment.
Yeah.
Well, as he said, I've never played better than I played this one weird night at Buffalo on a Sunday night, and Randy Moss caught 4 touchdown passes from him, and they had the ball 7 straight times to start the game, and they scored 7 touchdowns.
New England was so disrespectful that season. They were just running up the score on teams. It's ridiculous.
Okay, but at the end of that tweet, he says, hey, Randy, Bucks Red would look good on you. Have a few snaps left, question mark.
In other words, Randy Moss, I'm still here and you're not.
Puts Randy in a bad spot because, to your point, he hasn't played since 2011, but he hasn't really been a factor since 2009.
Pretty much. Ever since Randy Moss left Brady, his career went downhill drastically.
And he was just kind of a shell of himself and going through the motions with the 49ers. And I think he did catch one ball in the Super Bowl. Okay, so the point was, it wasn't like 2009. That's 11 years since he's been a significant big-time receiver.
And that's why Jerry Rice is by far the greatest wide receiver of all time. He wasn't the most naturally gifted, not necessarily the most talented. But Jerry Rice, when you look at his impact as an NFL player, the hardest worker, the most focused, the most explosive. When I say the most explosive, I'm not talking about explosive talent. I'm talking about explosive productivity on the field. Could turn a 2-yard or a 5-yard screen pass or crossing route into an 80-yard touchdown. Could take the top off the offense. This is a guy who ran a 4.7 40 at the combine, allegedly, but could run past cornerbacks and safeties on the football field. Would regularly school Deion Sanders, especially early in his career. Now, as Deion advanced, they would have these great battles while Deion was still in Atlanta, and of course later on when he went to Dallas. But early on in his career, many times they would not even put Deion on Jerry Rice. They would put Deion on John Taylor, like around 1990, 91, in that area. Jerry Rice had a 5-touchdown game against the Atlanta Falcons with Deion Sanders in the backfield because they would not put him on Jerry Rice. They had, I believe, Tim McKyer on Jerry Rice. So they did not want Jerry Rice to make these huge impacts on Deion Sanders' confidence at that time. But of course, Deion did grow. But just to get back to the point, Jerry Rice is by far the greatest wide receiver of all time. Not the most talented, but by far the greatest. The things that he would do blocking for the running backs or for other wide receivers who caught the football, Jerry Rice would be blocking defensive backs down the field. One of the most ballyhooed games in the history of the 49ers in the 1980s was a game that they played in LA against the Rams in 1989. It was a Monday Night Football game. It was the game that John Taylor had 2 90-plus yard touchdowns. And when you look at both of those touchdowns, Jerry Rice was blocking for him all the way down the field, damn near to the end zone. So the things that he would do to sacrifice for his teammates, that's what made him the greatest wide receiver ever, and in my view, the greatest NFL football player ever. So just to get back to the point, Tom Brady's looking at Randy Moss like, bro, with all those great numbers that you put up, with the talent that you had, you should have broken every record in the record books. So keep my name out of your motherfucking mouth.
And Tom Brady, who's also 43. Remember, when Tom turns 43 on August the 3rd, happy birthday, Ernestine. I got to say that when we're almost there. But August 3rd, he'll turn 43, and they'll both be 43. So they're basically the same age guys. And Tom's saying to him, hey, look at me. I'm still going strong. I'm going to play for 3 more years. And guess what, Randy? I've got a potential Super Bowl team I'm about to play for. And who you got? And, of course, it puts Randy in a bad spot. Really? Come try out for your team? I wouldn't make that team with them boys. I'll take my memories and run with lots of ends, because he has to run, because he's
Agreed.
done. So Tom got him back, and he got him good.
I agree.
Way to go, Tom.
My homeboy, where is that?
Yeah.
Get on the train, Skip, or get
Really?
left behind.
Huh.
Get on the train and get left behind.
I think that train just stopped off in Tampa Bay and let him off. And here,
It's going to be very interesting to see how good that Tampa Bay team is this year.
My homeboy going back.
really, he's going back. We got some due on that. Well,
Really?
he's
That's
got a
not
better chance now because he didn't have to deal with Tampa.
Oh, that's what Tom left.
Yeah.
Tom didn't want to deal. He didn't want to deal with my homeboy and L. Jack. He said, I got to get up out of here. L. Jack and them young guns, 25 and younger. Ooh, won't no part
Very
of that.
different when you think of the age.
Well, Shannon, you have to make up your story, man. You have to get your story straight. Was it that Tom left New England because Belichick kicked him out, or was it that he was scared of the young guns? Either way, I think that there's very little doubt in my mind that Tom Brady and Randy Moss are probably not as close as people would think that they were, or as people were trying to create the narrative that they were. And Tom Brady said, you know what, I'm done with this foolishness. You're saying that the offense is going to be better with Cam Newton than it was with me. Now you're saying that you would have caught more touchdown passes with Patrick Mahomes than you did with me. Like, bro, put some respect on my name. Put some respect on my career. But anyway, peace.